Ladies, gentlemen, and Haradrim of all ages, some weeks are quite quiet as far as news for Diablo 4 goes, but this has absolutely not been one of them. We have had the start of the anniversary event, which has had its fair share of hiccups, honestly, and we've even had patch notes released for a patch that is, as of yet, not fully confirmed when it will be dropping, so let's talk about what has been going on and how it seems to be impacting us on a larger scale. First things first, this could have been relatively easily missed if you aren't following the socials or forums. We have patch notes released for 1.4.2, the next proper client patch for the game. The release date is pending console certification, which means it could be as early as standard Tuesday patch day next week, or it might take a bit longer in the week before it hits, but this is what is inside of it. The biggest main thing that players will instantly have latched onto is just massive sprawling nerfs to the pit activity, as well as some buffs to our rewards from it, starting with an increase to the Stygian stone drop rates based on pit tier completion. I have no idea what the old rates were, none of us actually do, but 18% for tier 100 seems more than fair enough, given that the next few lines indicate that tier 100 is about to become far easier for most people to actually do. And in fact, every tier will be getting notably easier to complete because of the changes here as well. With one of the biggest things that we've been asking for as a community, and honestly something that I really didn't expect to be changed before the major mid-season update, which is rebalancing the pit so that the bosses and their ghost echo powers as well, the boss affixes, are quote-unquote more in line with the difficulty of the dungeon leading up to the fight. This is a bit vague, of course, but it is something that we all wanted to be closer in parity, just make the whole activity feel like it actually matters, rather than just the end section of it. But we have no idea how different the split will actually be based on this note until we are actually able to get our hands on it ourselves. That said, depending on how accurate the statement is, this could bump up the top pit completion rankings a pretty significant amount, because it's pretty clear it would be near impossible for anyone to hit tier 200 right now, the max rank of the pit with our current power levels this season. However, these changes to the pit could change that concept a fair amount. If I had to guess, I would say that their aim, Blizzard's actual goal for balancing this activity, would be for around tier 190, maybe 195 at a push, to be the absolute limit of the best players in the game. If this is how it balanced, then still no one would be able to hit 200, which is their main goal. They don't want people to fully finish the activity, but it also gives enough of a varied experience from tier 1 up to tier 190 that gives tons of room for players of all skill and build levels to get some solid time into the pit, and importantly, also good rewards for the higher tier completions too. On top of that, we got an official name for the sort of ghost echo attacks from pit bosses, which is boss affixes. The Tomb Lord boss affix has had its cooldown reduced, but the Blood Bishop has had its boss affix cooldown increased, as it was just a particularly nasty one. Arida's boss affix has had its duration decreased, and just across the board, outside of those, the boss affixes just happen less often in general to avoid overlapping multiple of these at a time, which could be quite painful. Past that, a change to make the pit UI just automatically open to your last completed pit tier, which is nice, a change to make tempering manuals more visible when they drop on the floor, as well at the same time as removing duplicate manual drops, so you'll never see one again if you have a higher rarity of that one. Now, as well, you will get a sigil dropping from Capstone dungeons at the end, which is just neat too to get you started on each of your characters. Then we just have a big, gigantic wall of bug fixes, with the most major general player base affecting ones being that any of the targeted ladder boss unique drop items were, until this patch hits, physically incapable of dropping with greater affixes from their intended boss, which essentially just explains a ton of wasted farming from a lot of players, myself included in this, but at least it has been caught and will be fixed. Then there was a fix to Druid legendary aspect interactions for a pretty niche build, sort of an interaction between Bloodhowl and the Bold Chieftains aspect, which now can also apply to Druid because of the whole shout rework thing, but it's definitely a thing that is important to fix. A fix to the visuals of upheaval when using Hellhammer as Barbarian to just make it match the actual hitbox, and then a fix to Sirocco Caverns, the dungeon, which has been pretty badly bugged for a bit, blocking progression for players sometimes and just making the dungeon uncompletable, but now that's been fixed. Past that, just a change to an unintended consequence of masterworking, which was the ability to raise the actual duration of certain affixes with durations on them, on specifically uniques, as uniques are the only things that roll with that type of stuff right now. As specific as that is, and then just a fun change, which is fixing the Grandfather, uber unique, to no longer roll durability loss ignore as a greater affix, affix, as well as promising to reroll the greater affix on any grandfather that you already have with the durability loss greater affix on it. So honestly, this is a pretty solid fix here on this one. That's everything for the patch notes themselves then. Honestly, they're pretty solid in my opinion. Player thoughts will of course be quite varied on nerfing the pit, as people were still not quite reaching the cap of what could be achieved in the current balance, and I'm sure a lot of top players will wish that they had a bit longer to actually get settled first, but I think it is undeniable that as long as they don't swing too hard in the other direction with this balance, it will be good for the game as a whole, especially for the average player. Moving on then to the anniversary event, which started earlier this week, and this was just expected to be a relatively quaint activity: bonus treasure goblins and loot, free cosmetics, bonus XP and gold, just really nice, right? What could go wrong? I mean, that all just sounds like a bit of fun. Well, the first problem, the item power of gear from these bonus treasure goblins was dropping lower than intended and making the gear far less useful than they wanted, but then actually just last night a hotfix was released to address this bug among other things, in fact increasing the goblin spawn rate even further, increasing treasure bag drop chance from the goblins, and increasing the loot quality from the goblins and the bags, with the only negative part of this hotfix being the removal of the Helltide threat bug, which is sad for anyone who was using the infinite threat meter for leveling speed or reputation gain. That's just gone now. Past that, we did then have to get clarification on the Mother's Blessing buff, which has changed from the sort of weird choice to have it running for part of the event with strange lack of overlap. Now it will just be running the entire event period until June 20th. And then we also got some more information and insight into this. 35% bonus experience and gold will be the bonus that we get until patch 1.4.2. When that hits, it will change to 25% bonus XP, which is less, obviously, but 50% bonus gold, which is more. And honestly, that fits the needs of most of the player base at this point. More gold, less XP. Most people would prefer that, I think, right now. And apparently this is just due to those values being something that needed a client patch to actually change, so it all just sort of makes sense that it's happening this way, with this explanation at least, as strange as it did all seem to begin with. And that just about does it then, everyone. A lot of important news today, some pretty sizable changes in multiple different areas, some already hit, some coming up within the next few days, but all of it definitely impactful to the game right now. And at least in my own opinion, it's all in a pretty solid direction. What are your own thoughts then? Are the changes good, or would you prefer that the pit stays difficult? Do you want things like even tier 160 to seem like an unsurmountable wall for even the best players? Because right now, I think the average player hitting even tier 100 is a pretty dang good challenge. Or maybe you even liked the balance, where in a tier 100 pit run, the boss is basically just an impossible challenge for most people, even if the trash leading up to it is. Maybe you like the idea of being able to just blast through a really hard pack of trash and then just get walled on a boss for a bit, so you can use the whole timer to fight it and make it more like a boss-based activity. I don't know what you think. I know what I've seen people say, I know what I think, but you should tell us if you like these changes or if you want other stuff changed instead down in the comments below. Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.